There is something deeply unsettling about waking up every morning and going through the exact same motions, feeling the weight of a life that somehow belongs to you but does not feel like yours. You open your eyes, and before you even sit up, the routine has already begun inside your mind. The obligations, the expectations, the roles you are supposed to play, the version of yourself that other people need you to be. You get dressed not because you chose those clothes, but because that is what someone like you wears. You say the things that someone in your position says. You smile when it is expected, stay quiet when speaking would cause discomfort. And somewhere along the way you learn to call all of this simply being responsible, being mature, being realistic. But there is a voice underneath all of that, very quiet, almost suffocated, that keeps asking whether this is really it, whether this is really you, whether the life you are building was ever actually yours to begin with. That voice is not your anxiety. It is not a symptom. It is the most honest thing inside you. And for a long time, no one taught you how to listen to it. Here is the truth that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. You are not who you think you are, and that is not a tragedy. It is the most liberating fact in the history of human existence. Jean-Paul Sartre said it with a precision that still cuts through the noise of a century of self-help books and motivational speeches. He said that existence precedes essence. And those three words contain an entire revolution, a complete dismantling of everything you were told about purpose, identity, and destiny. Most people live as though they arrived in this world with a fixed nature, a predetermined character, a soul already shaped before they had any say in the matter. They behave as though their limitations are biological, their failures are inevitable, their personality is a thing they received rather than a thing they are constantly constructing. And because of that belief, they hand over their freedom to circumstances, to other people, to systems, to stories they were told before they were old enough to question them. Sartre looked at all of that and said no. He said you came first, the existence came first, and only through the choices you make, the actions you take, the things you refuse, and the things you embrace, you slowly author what you are. What separates the people who live in radical freedom from everyone else is not intelligence, not privilege, not some rare psychological gift. It is a habit of consciousness, a way of encountering themselves and the world that most people have been trained out of since childhood. These people do not wake up and ask what they are supposed to do. They wake up and face a question that is far more uncomfortable, a question that Sartre considered the fundamental condition of every human being who has ever drawn breath. What will I choose today? Knowing that no one can choose for me. Knowing that whatever I choose, I am choosing not just for myself, but for everyone. Knowing that I cannot escape the weight of that freedom, no matter how far I run from it. That question is not motivational content. It is the raw structure of existence itself. And learning to live inside that question without flinching is the first and most essential habit of those who refuse to sleepwalk through their lives. Sartre called the alternative bad faith. He gave it a name because it is so common, so seductive, so woven into the fabric of ordinary life that most people never recognize it for what it is. Bad faith is the act of pretending you have no choice when you do. It is the waiter who performs being a waiter so completely that he forgets he chose to come to work this morning and can choose not to come tomorrow. It is the person who says, I had to stay in that relationship. I had to take that job. I had no other option. When what they mean is the other options were harder, scarier, more uncertain, and it was easier to pretend the cage was locked than to test whether it actually was. Bad faith is comfortable. It distributes the weight of your life across external forces and leaves you feeling like a passenger, which means it also leaves you feeling powerless, resentful, and quietly desperate in a way that accumulates over years into something that is very hard to name, but impossible to ignore. People who live in radical freedom have developed a practice of catching themselves mid-sentence, mid-decision, mid-excuse, and asking the question Sartre would have asked, am I hiding from my freedom right now? Think about the last time you said you had no choice. Sit with it for a moment, not to judge yourself, but to actually examine it. There was a version of the decision where you accepted a consequence you were afraid to accept, and that version was available to you. The choice existed. What did not exist was the courage to claim it, and that is a completely different thing. That is something you can work with, something that belongs to you rather than to your circumstances. People who live in radical freedom are not fearless. They are not free from anxiety. In fact, Sartre argued that anxiety is the direct experience of freedom itself. When you feel that particular vertigo standing at the edge of a significant decision, that is not weakness. That is the sensation of recognizing that no one is going to make this choice for you, that the future is genuinely open, that you are not a machine with a predetermined output, but a consciousness confronting its own boundless possibility. The people who live freely have learned to treat that anxiety not as a warning to retreat, but as a confirmation that they are standing exactly where they should be. Before we go further into what Sartre reveals about the deeper architecture of a free life, I want to stop for a moment and ask you something directly, because I have a feeling you came to this video carrying something that most people around you have not been able to see. Have you ever felt like you are living someone else's version of your life, going through the right motions, meeting the right expectations, and still feeling this quiet, hollow feeling that something essential is missing, like you are performing your existence instead of actually living it? If that resonates with you, write in the comments right now, "I exist before my essence." Just those 4 words. Because there are people watching this who have been carrying that feeling for years in complete silence, convinced that something is wrong with them, convinced that they are the only ones who feel this way. Your comment will not just be a response to a video, it will be proof to someone else that they are not alone, that what they feel is not a malfunction but the very beginning of a real awakening. The habit of radical presence is something Sartre described in ways that most readers miss, because they focus on his darker passages and overlook the extraordinary discipline his philosophy requires. To live freely in the Sartrean sense is to refuse the comfort of the past as an explanation for the present. It is to look at your history, all of it, the wounds and the conditioning and the patterns that formed you, and to say, "I acknowledge all of this, and none of it determines what I do next." This is not toxic positivity. This is not the denial of trauma or difficulty. It is the insistence that between stimulus and response, between what happened to you and what you do about it, there is always a gap, always a moment of consciousness that belongs entirely to you. And in that gap lives every freedom you have ever had and every freedom you have not yet claimed. People who live in radical freedom protect that gap. They practice noticing it. They refuse to let the automation of habit, the authority of other people's expectations, or the momentum of their own past close that gap permanently. There is something Sartre wrote about the look of the other that changes everything once you truly understand it. When another person looks at you, something happens that is not merely social. You are, for a moment, transformed into an object in their field of perception. You become a thing they are defining, categorizing, assigning meaning to. And the natural human response to that is to start organizing your behavior around their gaze, to start becoming what their look seems to require, to internalize their definition of you, and begin operating from inside it. This is the origin of so much of what people call identity. It is constructed under observation, shaped by desire for approval, refined through repetition until it feels completely authentic, when it is actually completely borrowed. The people who live in radical freedom do not eliminate this dynamic, because it is irreducible to human existence. What they do is remain aware of it, remain the subject who is doing the observing, rather than collapsing entirely into the object who is being observed. They choose which gazes to allow meaning and which to let pass without residue. The deepest habit of the radically free person is not a morning routine or a productivity system or a mindset framework. It is what Sartre called the project of being, the continuous act of committing yourself to a direction, knowing that you could always choose otherwise, which means every day you sustain, that commitment is a genuine act of freedom rather than just inertia carrying you forward. Most people mistake momentum for choice. They are doing what they did yesterday because they did it yesterday, not because they have actually recommitted to it today. The free person wakes up and recommits, not because they are uncertain, but because the commitment only means something when it is chosen again, when it is not just the passive continuation of a groove worn into behavior by repetition. This practice transforms everything it touches. Work becomes vocation when it is chosen. Relationships become love when they are renewed. Identity becomes character when it is authored deliberately rather than accumulated accidentally. Sartre said we are condemned to be free, and he meant condemned with full weight. There is no escape from this. You cannot opt out of choosing. Even the refusal to choose is a choice. Even the decision to let others decide is a decision. The freedom is total, and it is inescapable, and it rests on you with an authority that no philosophy, no religion, no relationship, and no amount of distraction can permanently dissolve. But what he also said, and what gets far less attention, is that this condemnation is also the only source of genuine dignity available to a human being. You are not the product of your genes in any final sense. You are not the inevitable output of your childhood. You are not the role the world assigned you before you had the vocabulary to contest it. You are, at every moment, the author of what you are becoming. That is not a burden, it is the only thing that makes any of it real. If something in this video landed in a place that has been waiting for exactly this, if you felt something shift in how you see your own choices and your own freedom, take a moment right now and give this video a like. Not as a gesture toward an algorithm, but because this kind of thinking deserves to reach the person who is out there right now feeling trapped in a life they did not consciously choose. Who needs to hear that the cage was never locked, that the key was always in their hands, that Sartre was right and the freedom is absolute, and it is theirs. Your like is what makes this message travel to them. And if you want to keep going deeper into what it means to live with full ownership of your existence, to stop performing and start actually being, subscribe to this channel. Every video here is made for the person who feels like they have been sleepwalking and is finally ready to wake up. This is not content. This is a continuing conversation about the only life you actually have, and you deserve to have it on your own terms.